Good morning, class. This is Miss Allen, and today is day 8 of your lesson 4B, which is explaining relationships in historical texts. So we're going to start by going over the standard for today. The standard is ELA GSE 3 RI 3, which is explain the relationships or interactions between two or more individuals, events, ideas, or concepts in a historical, scientific, or technical text based on the specific information in a text. The objective for today is today I will be able to complete a graphic organizer with identifying the relationships between cause and effect within a text. I will know I got it when I am able to determine the cause and effect relationship and complete the exit ticket at the end of the video. Okay, so now we're going to go over some vocabulary that we're going to be learning in the text. The vocabulary that we'll be learning is historical text, which is learning about people, events, and ideas. Some historical texts describe simple cause and effects relationships that tell what happened and why. So those are our two vocabulary words: historical text and cause and effect relationships. Okay, so we're actually going to start by reading the text from The History and Description of Africa by Leo Africanus. Born in 1845, Leo Africanus traveled across the Sahara to the city of Timbuktu in West Africa. His account provides a glimpse of life there in the early 1500s. In the center of the city is a temple, and in addition, there is a large palace constructed by the same architect where the king lives. The shops of the artisans, merchants, and especially weavers of cotton cloth are very numerous. Fabrics are also imported from Europe to Timbuktu, borne by Berber merchants. The inhabitants are very rich, especially the strangers who have settled into the country, so much that the current king has given 2 of his daughters in marriage, 2 brothers, both businessmen, on account of their wealth. There are many wells containing sweet water in Timbuktu. And in addition, when the Niger River is flooded, canals deliver the water to the city. Grain and animals are abundant, so that the consumption of milk and butter is considerable. But salt is in very short supply because it is carried here from Tagaza, some 500 miles from Timbuktu. I happened to be in this city at the time when a load of salt sold for 80 ducats. The king has a rich treasure of coins and gold ingots. One of these ingots weighs 970 pounds. There in Timbuktu, numerous judges, teachers, and priests, all properly appointed by the king. He greatly honors learning. Many handwritten books imported from Barbary are also sold. There is more profit made from this commerce than from all other merchandise. Instead of coin money, pure gold nuggets are used, and for small purchases, cowrie shells have been carried from Persia, and of which 400 equal a ducat. So now that we have read the text, we're going to go over a few questions, like answering questions on the important parts of the text. So the first question is, who is the writer and when did he travel to Timbuktu? So let's look at the text. Scroll up and look at the text to see who the name of the writer is. So I'm underlining the writer, and his name is Leo Africanus. The second question is, when did he travel to Timbuktu? So if we read under part 1, it says, born in 1485, Leo Africanus traveled across the Sahara to the city of Timbuktu in West Africa. His account provides a glimpse of life there in the early 1500s. So we can gather that he traveled to Timbuktu in Africa in the early 1500s. My second question is, how did Timbuktu receive goods from Europe? Let's look that up. So I'm looking here and it says fabrics were also imported from Europe to Timbuktu, borne by Berber merchants. So our answer is Berber merchants brought the goods from Timbuktu, or to Timbuktu from Europe. Our next question is, how does the writer describe the inhabitants of Timbuktu? So we look under 3 and it says the inhabitants are very rich. My last question is, what is the account mostly about? So what is the story mostly about? What is the main idea of the story? And just looking at it, it says, Leo Africanus traveled across the Sahara into the city of Timbuktu in West Africa. His account provides a glimpse of life there in the early 1500s. So we can gather that the text is about Leo Africanus' experience about what life was like in Timbuktu in the early 1500s. So remember, as we're reading the text, we do want to gather the important pieces of information. And remember, we are still working on cause and effect. So when we're looking at cause and effect, we know that cause is the reason why a particular event happened, and the event that happened is the effect. But we may not always be able to find the why. It's important to be able to inference, or to find inferences within the text so that we can find the cause and the effect within the text. Okay, so now we're going into the cause and effect graphic organizer. Use what you have learned from the eyewitness account to answer the following questions. The chart shows cause and effects from the text. Complete the chart by drawing X's in the boxes to connect the causes with the effects. Some causes may have 2 effects. So we're going to look. The causes, the 3 causes are, number 1, Berber merchants set up trade routes with Europe. Number 2, grain and animals were plentiful, but salt was not. And the third cause is the king respected education and learning. So for the first one, what was the cause of, or what was the effect of Berber merchants set up trade routes with Europe? So was the effect Timbuktu merchants became rich, there were many judges, teachers, and priests, and salt was imported from 500 miles away. So I want you to take your time with completing the cause and effect chart. So now we're going to compare answers, and I will display my answers here. So my answer was the effect of Berber merchants setting up trade routes with Europe was the Timbuktu merchants became rich and salt was imported from 500 miles away. The effects of grain, or the cause was grain and animals were plentiful, but salt was not. The effect was Timbuktu merchants became rich. Also, salt was imported from 500 miles away. The third cause is the king respected education and learning, and the effect was there were many judges, teachers, and priests. All right, so that concludes our completing the graphic organizer. So now we're going to go into our exit ticket for the day. Okay, so just to conclude our lesson, our objective for the day was be able to complete a graphic organizer with determining the major events of the text, the relationship between those events, including identifying the relationship between cause and effect within a text. All right, and so we were able to talk about the major events in the text as well as the cause and effect relationships within the text. Okay, so for today's exit ticket, it is entitled Lesson 4B, Day 8 Exit Ticket. You're going to put your full name, your teacher's name. Number 1 was, what was the cause of Timbuktu's merchants becoming rich? Number 4, what was the effect of salt not being plentiful in Timbuktu? And number 5, what was the effect of the king prioritizing education in his land? So after you have completed and answering those questions, make sure you turn it in, and your appropriate teacher will get it. All right, students, thank you. I hope you had a great day of learning. and have a great day. We will talk tomorrow.